Okay, so this is how my morning's going so far. I had this winch all torn apart this morning. Actually, I tore it apart last night, because it wasn't working, and cleaned it all up. I had it sitting on the bench. I didn't do a ton of videoing with pulling it apart. I do have some, but I figured I'd do one video of putting it back together and what I found. And just my luck, I use a GoPro camera. That's all I have. I guess you got to start with something. It recorded 11 minutes and then froze, but it showed that it was still recording. It showed that it recorded 38 minutes and only gave me 11 minutes. So I'm just going to do a recap of what I did and why I did it, and I could drop in maybe some of the videos that I did take on this video and see how that turns out. So as long as I had this Jeep for probably the last couple years, I don't think I've ever tried to use this winch. I decided yesterday, it wasn't even hooked up to the battery. I had a lot of battery problems. So I ended up disconnecting it, and then I ended up taking a whole bunch of stuff out of the cab because I was trying to figure out why the battery was draining. And then I think all I've been doing now is just disconnecting the battery. And I bought one of these Harbor Freight solar chargers, maintainers, and I haven't had any problems since. So I went ahead and ran the wires back up to the battery. Of course, I turkey tied everything down, got everything cleaned up, went to go try it, and nothing. There's no clicking. No movement at all. So this seemed to turn all right. The drum seems to turn all right. So I figured there had to be something electrical in here, and especially since it wasn't making any noises. I did test the power wire, and I tried to get down to the ground. The main power wire from the battery is here, and then the ground is this wire here, and it goes down underneath, and it seemed like I was getting some kind of connections there. So I went ahead and pulled the 4 bolts out of the bottom of it, pulled the hook off, and disconnected this wire and took it over to the bench. And the first thing I noticed when I disconnected this wire, even though most of all this actually has really good connections, I mean, they're all stainless steel, most of them with the boots on, there were no corrosion. There was corrosion back in here, I guess, where there's not, you can't see it, I don't have a light on me, but some of the boots don't cover all the connections here, and there was some rust there. But for some reason this ground wire down here had no boot on it, and it was corroded pretty good. So I pulled it out and took it to the bench, and I pulled the 2 bolts out of here for this end cap, and I ended up, well, first, before I pulled that off, I took a punch and I punched 4 spots here, so when I put this back together, I knew exactly where it was going to line back up, so all my bolts and wires and everything was going to be in the right spot. Then I took these 2 bolts off, pulled this cap off, and I ended up pulling the motor off and pulling the, I believe it's an armature out of it. And there was some rust. It looked like some water had been sitting in the bottom of this for a little bit. Not too long, but the brushes looked good. The armature, all that stuff looked pretty good. And like I said, all these connections, these boots are a real pain to get off and on. But they all looked good on here. So I took pictures and started pulling them off here. The nice thing about these is every single one of these here, underneath the nuts, they're color coded black, yellow, and red. And then up here, the ends of the studs are painted. There's a red, a black, and a yellow, I believe, up here. So I pulled all that off, pulled the 4 bolts out of the bottom of this, which this will come off, and then there's 3 screws in the bottom of this piece, so this will come off. Pulled the coil pack out, and I took the 4 screws out of the coil pack, but I didn't pull the coil pack all the way apart. It looked like everything on here looks like it's got some kind of O-ring or seal, so I ended up pulling it apart a little bit. I didn't want to damage any of the wires in there, pulling it too far apart. I didn't see any signs of water or anything inside of that coil pack, so I went ahead and actually took a little bit of dielectric grease around the O-ring before I bolted it back down, just to make sure that if that O-ring is a little bit screwed up somewhere, hopefully the dielectric grease will help hold any water out. So I had that all apart. I did end up taking, there's 6 screws in the end of this gearbox, and I pulled this off to look at the gears in there. I didn't pull all the gears out. I pulled one set out and decided that that was enough because it had plenty of grease. I didn't see any signs of water or anything in it. Like I said, all this turns pretty easy, and the drum turns pretty easy. So I went ahead, and it did have a seal around this cap. I went ahead and just took a little bit of some silicone that I have, RTV, and put on there and put the cap back on, just to make sure I don't get any water in there. And I had it all apart, so I painted all this stuff. Of course, I bought 2 cans of paint. It was supposed to be, both cans were supposed to be a flat black. So when the winch was off, I ended up painting, I think this is all powder coated, but it was all faded, so I went ahead and just hit it with a flat black, and I think it looks a lot better than what it was. I ended up painting this piece and the couple mounts and stuff in here. Went to go paint the outside of this, and the other can of paint was a protective satin, so it's more shiny than what I had planned on it being. But I had it all painted up yesterday. Last night, I let it dry overnight, and then I come out this morning, and like I said, I was going to video and put it all back together, and my GoPro went goofy, I guess, after 11 minutes. I think it heated up, and I didn't know it until I was completely done putting that back together, and I was getting ready to set it back on the bumper. So most of it is pretty easy to take apart. The hardest part probably out of this whole thing is getting all these boots pushed back on all the terminals. And I don't know if they have, I'm sure you get those boots somewhere. I don't know if Rough Country has just a boot kit that you could buy, and I ripped them and tore them pretty good. And I want to keep those on there because that's probably what kept most of those from getting all rusted up and corroded. So that was about it. It took me half an hour to put the thing back together. It didn't take very long at all. I think even if you had to take everything out of it, it wouldn't be too bad to take it apart, take some pictures. I did the drum, and I don't know, this here I know is for a steel cabled winch, and we've got synthetic rope. So I don't know if this was originally had steel cable in it, and somebody pulled it off and put the synthetic rope in it. I don't know what everybody's opinions are. I know I've read before that if it has steel on it, you're not supposed to put synthetic rope on it because the brakes inside of a steel cabled winch will heat up and damage the rope. But I know a lot of people convert them over to synthetic rope. I just don't know if anybody's had any problems. I think, I haven't measured this rope, but I think this rope's probably been through the the ringer anyways. Another thing that I don't know is if a lot of these ropes, like the rope that's on my Tacoma, this end of it is all normally red or different colors, so you know when you're all the way out. But it looks, to me, looks like it might be short, but that's what I have for now. That's what's going to go back on it. So, I don't know what else there was. It was pretty quick. I made sure that all of my connections were, I put dielectric grease on everything. Made sure everything was sealed up good. I even put on that gear, the electric motor side, I did put a little RTV on that side as well, especially since it had water in it, and I don't know why it had water in it. I know it's got some of these bolt holes, screw holes. I don't know if maybe some water came in through there, but I guess I'll hook it up real quick. Well, all I have to do is plug in the controller, see if it works, and then start putting the rope back on it. The only problem with that is they don't have any. They had the rope tied to the drum. They didn't have any of the attachments, so I'm not sure how I'm going to attach it back to the drum. If I'm going to tie it like the way they had it, or I think the battery's hooked back up. Seems to be working. We didn't have any of that yesterday, so nice. Now I need to try to figure out, take it out in the backyard and hook it to a tree and get that rope back on there, tension it up, and should have a working winch. So I'm just going to run the rope on there by hand for now, and then later I'll mess with trying to tension it the right way. Something tells me this isn't the right hook, but this is the hook they had on there. I'm gonna see if I can find the original Warren winch for my winch off my Tacoma, since I don't use it. Hopefully it's in the back of my pickup, and I might put that on there instead of this.